Bear with me again, folks. Apologize about it. It's having problems connecting to. We're on X, and we need to get on Facebook. All right, we are on. There we go. We are connected. All right, folks. Gene Gallen here with the Chatham Journal. I have Ashibo Rojas from the Chatham News and Record, and there's the rundown of what we're going to be talking about in today's sports update live stream. We're going to touch about the Battle of Pittsburgh that happened last night at the Dean Smith Center. Then we're going to talk about the fact that Chatham County High School basketball is underway. We've got 6 local teams playing. That season has started. Ashibo's got a bunch of information on that. We've had the unofficial power rankings, but folks, you love them, you hate them, but the high school basketball power rankings are back in full force, so we're going to go into that. And, of course, the Chatham News and Record newspaper comes out today. Ashibo's going to give you a rundown of the stories he's got in the newspaper this week. Also, everyone's favorite, his athlete of the week. Then we're going to go into high school wrestling. That is going on in full force here in Chatham County. We also have a girls wrestling team over at Chatham Central. And happened that Duke wrestling team, yes, Duke University, was at C4. So Ashibo's going to have a little bit of information. Of course, we'll finish up with what's going on and where we'll be for the next few days. So let me go out of here and let's start talking about the Battle of Pittsburgh, the game between UNC and Alabama, and where it is important for the folks in Pittsburgh and Chatham County is the fact that Drake Powell, who a former Northwood student athlete, and Jaron Stevenson, a former Northwood and Seaforth student athlete, is playing for Alabama. And I was there taking pictures, and Ashibo was there covering the game. So, Ashibo, give us a rundown of what your assessment was of how Drake and Jaron did and just the overall feel of the game. I know it didn't turn out well for UNC, but we're going to be concentrating on the 2 Chatham County characters, but also we want an overall feel as to how the game went. So all yours, buddy.
Yeah, so to start, of course, both of them are coming in. We're coming into that game after their best games of the season. Of course, Drake, I think it just went for 18 against Michigan State and Maui. And then Jaron Stevenson, I think, had a season high of 11 in their loss to Oregon the game before. And Jaron started in the starting lineup this year. Had some games where he wasn't in the starting lineup, but he worked his way back into it for the first time last night since November 15th. And then, of course, Drake got his first career start at UNC. So, Gene and I got the video of his introduction, getting that moment for him and being able to go out with the starting 5 for the first time with the Tar Heels. So, as far as the game, I mean, both players poured in 6 points each. Both had 3 rebounds apiece. Drake had 2 assists and 2 steals. Jaron Stevenson had a block. So pretty similar stat lines. But, even though, numbers might not look like much, but, I mean, they both had pretty big impacts on that game, especially in the second half. We saw a little bit of back and forth between Jaron and Drake. I think at one point Jaron had hit a 3, and then Drake came down on the other end, got a layup. They also had some opportunities to guard each other. Drake got a blow by on Jaron one time. Jaron also getting out in transition, hitting some threes as well to really extend Alabama's lead in that second half. And as the game went, I mean, Hubert Davis, head coach at UNC, kind of talked about it in the post game, but UNC started with some pretty good defensive pressure to start the game. The first 2 or 3 minutes, it seemed like all the momentum was going UNC's way as far as defensively and offensively. Alabama hung around, and then they went on a run. And from that point, Alabama didn't really look back. I mean, they just a barrage of threes, getting plenty of turnovers off of Carolina, converting those in transition. And I mean, it just wasn't a good outing defensively, nor from the 3-point line for Carolina. I think Carolina was way under 20% from the 3-point line. I think at one point even double digits. It might have finished that way. I'm not totally sure, but just not a good showing from offensively and defensively from UNC. But yeah, there's a picture of Jaron and Drake. Like I said, they got some opportunities to go 1-on-1 against each other, which was really cool to see. And yeah, I mean, they both represented Chatham County pretty well in that game with how they played, and and their impact. And I asked Super Davis a little bit why Drake got the start, and just he said really wasn't much thought going into it, but they had some veteran leadership coming. Wanted to have some veteran leadership coming off with Jalen Withers, and putting Drake in that place, just trying something to see how Drake would go in that role. And like we said, he did pretty well as a starter. Really was the kind of a bright spot once again, in kind of like a dark UNC game with the defense, as well as just his aggressive drive. He showed a lot more aggressiveness in this game with the ball, getting to the basket, getting his shots. So we'll see if he stays in the starting lineup further down the season, or if it's going to be a back and forth thing. Don't know yet, but I can see him staying in that starting lineup for now as they try to find some type of spark to get the season back on track.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. And if you look at his stats, he played 25 minutes, had six points, so he did well. And I think at the beginning of the season, folks were like not sure how he's going to fit in. But on an average, I think he's playing more than 20 minutes a game. And I talked with Andrew Jones, who writes for the Tar Heel Illustrated, and he's been really impressed with what Drake has been able to do. Drake's been a solid player. He mentioned that Drake's been good on defense, and he also mentioned that the place he sees Drake. Well, actually, you already mentioned it. Just his assertiveness, and again, he's a freshman. He's just started playing with the team, and I think one of the reporters in the post game, because Drake was one of the players that came out to talk to the reporters. Someone asked him about who the vocal leaders are, and he mentioned some of the older players. But again, I could see, having seen him play at Northwood, that's a role that he may grow into as well. And there's the stats for Jaren. He played 16 minutes, and he had two 3-pointers. So he had his 6 points. So both of them did well. So we're proud of the Chatham County players out there. I know there were a bunch of Chatham County folks out there. I saw Coach Vernon, saw some other folks. I know Ashibo mentioned he saw some folks out there. So it was a pleasure to see him playing out there. And I know I had a couple of folks sitting behind me that every time Drake got a hold of the ball, and actually one of them is from Chatham County. His daughter went to Northwood. They were happy when he got to touch the ball. So any other impressions of the game?
Yeah, like you said, Jaren did well, and I think it was really cool to see Jaren play well. 3 games in a row now consistently. I thought he was in a little bit of a shooting slump to start the year, and he's playing through that, getting his confidence back in the starting lineup, and doing some good things. So, yeah, and he's a big piece to one of the best teams in the country as well, which is a really big deal for him. So, like we said, yeah, happy for both of them. It was a really cool moment for the county to see them both out there on one of the biggest stages of college basketball that night. SEC rules over the ACC. If we look at the big picture, so they get the nod. I mean, they get the advantage in the SEC ACC challenge this year, but yeah, looks like times are changing in college basketball a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting because I listened to the state game afterwards, because the state game started, I think, at 9:45, and they were ahead of Texas 55-52, and they landed up losing that game. And Tony Hayes was just mentioning the fact that their free throw shooting was poor. And in this case, you mentioned 3-point shooting. Yes, Carolina's 3-point shooting was not good. I think the only good news here in the Triangle yesterday was Duke won their game, so that was good. And there's a lot of folks that are happy for Duke. It would have just been nice if Carolina and State would have been able to win here locally as well. Anything else about last night's game?
Nope, I think we got it all covered.
All right, now I don't know if I'm allowed to tell folks, but you are writing a story on Jaren and Drake. Is that right?
Yeah, the story's going to be, of course, focused on both of them, how they did in the game. They talked a little bit about, just looking forward to this matchup and sharing the court together. So we did get some quotes from them on that. You can see those quotes online on my X account. I posted them under my thread from the game, and as well we got a clip from Hubert Davis explaining Drake getting the start last night as well. So yeah, we'll have a story. Just focus on those two from the game.
Right. And folks, I've just posted down below here when Ashibo says his X account, there's his X account, Ashibo R38. Definitely follow him. If you haven't followed him, you're missing out on it. I've gotten a lot of feedback on folks that say, hey, they appreciate the little extra effort that Ashibo puts into getting that information out there. The other thing is on the local level, usually after the game, Ashibo will get a minute or two with the coach and a minute or two with some of the players. So it's definitely worth it. And again, if your mom, your grandmother or your mother or your parent does not know how to use X, teach them how to use it and let them share the information, because Ashibo articles come out in the paper every week, but he's also got a bunch of stuff coming out on X. Okay, on our next thing we're going to talk about basketball, but do you want to get into basketball or do you want to talk about the stories in the paper first?
Oh, yeah, I can just give a rundown of what we had in the paper this week.
All right, why don't we do that, athlete of the week, and then we'll get into the basketball season, because it's going to be definitely an interesting basketball season this week. So, Ashibo, tell us what you got in the paper this week. What articles?
Yeah, so we got a story coming out of Thanksgiving just highlighting the Chatham County freshmen on the college level, what they've been up to this year. Of course, we have Drake Powell and his impressive stretch at the Maui Invitational, but we also got some good things from Skylar Adams at Shaw, former Northwood girls basketball point guard. She earned some rookie of the week honors, I think 2 weeks ago for her performance. She's been in the starting lineup at Shaw as a freshman and doing really well in that role. And then Mia Brooks down at Greensboro College as well, doing really good. Also earned some rookie of the week honors from her conference. I think she had a game where she had 27 points. So I think that's her career high so far. I haven't checked in a couple of days. But, yeah, I mean, the county's freshmen from last year, if you guys remember these names, some of our best players in the county, they're doing really well on the college level so far, and we highlight that. Of course, we have Duke. We have a story on Duke coming to Seaforth, I think last Saturday, to do their quad meet. Have a little bit from what Gene got from Jared on how Duke ended up at Seaforth, and then, of course, we talked about how Duke did at the meet. And then we have our roundup, of course, highlighting our boys and girls wrestling teams, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And, of course, our basketball teams from last week. And then we have Chatham County's Mid-Carolina 1A, 2A fall sports all-conference athletes. So all the athletes from the county that earn all-conference honors for football, volleyball, boys soccer, boys and girls cross country, girls tennis, and girls golf, as well as highlighting the ones that did earn Player of the Year and Coach of the Year honors as well. And then, Gene, you want to go ahead and get into Athlete of the Week?
Look, we have to get into Athlete of the Week. That's what everybody loves, and it's not only do the athletes enjoy it, but the moms and the dads and the relatives enjoy it. So, Ashibo, who is this week's Athlete of the Week?
This week's Athlete of the Week is our multi-sport athlete, Kara Rosenmarkle. She earns Athlete of the Week for her performance at the Red Wolf Invitational as a wrestler, and she wins her third consecutive first place finish at the Red Wolf Invitational. I think she was in the 165-pound weight class. She got a bye in the first round, and then she pinned a wrestler from Cedar Ridge in 26 seconds. And in the second round, she pinned a wrestler from Bartlett Yancey in 30 seconds. So just straight domination at the Red Wolf Invitational once again for Kara Rosenmarkle. She's been an outstanding wrestler and, of course, volleyball player in her 3 years at Seaforth. And, yeah, we're looking forward to see how she continues to dominate, continues to be successful for the rest of the wrestling season.
Actually, I got a question about that, because I had talked to her mom at the beginning of the volleyball season, and her mom said she wasn't going to be wrestling because she had grown out of it. But I guess that's not what's happened. She's gotten back into and she's good.
Oh yeah.
So she has gotten back into wrestling.
That's what it looks like. Yep, she's
all right. Well,
back into it. Looks like she's.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to her mom. Her mom told me she wasn't gonna get back into wrestling. So hey, but look, Ashibo knows what's going on. I just take pictures, and Ashibo gave you this week's Well, she is a wrestler, but this is week's athlete of the week, and she's a multi-sport athlete. And I think during the volleyball game, when they were in that final game, you were actually thinking about had they won that, she would have been her or Allie Forbes would have been your player of the game. I think you were thinking for that, weren't you?
Yeah, I was thinking for MVP because I know that NCSSAA had us vote on it. And yeah, watching that game, it was those two coming up with the big plays. Of course, Maris Honeycutt as well, but with Forbes getting the multiple aces in a row, Rosa Markle coming up with some big aces and kills as well. Those two were definitely in high consideration for game MVP. But of course, they came up short, but like we said, we're sure they'll be back and reloaded for another state title run next year.
All right. I want to thank folks right now. We've got a dozen of you watching. We get about 800 to 1,000 of you. I know not everybody can watch at lunchtime, but you can watch this at whatever time. And we usually get 800 to 1,000 of you watching every week. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for doing that. We have also gotten feedback from folks that this is a regularly scheduled thing for them. They may not watch it on Thursdays at noontime, but they do get to watch it. I've also heard from one of the athletes that she loves when her name gets mentioned on this. So we'll try to get in as many names as we can. All right. Let's talk high school basketball. You've done some previews. You've been out to some games. Do you want to start with the guys or the girls first and just talk about the teams out there, the players, and your power rankings? How do you want to do this? Because, folks, we took off last week. Basketball season's in session right now, and we're back to doing our weekly live stream. So, Ashibo, how do you want to kick off the basketball stuff?
Yeah, we can start with the boys and just want to talk, run down some of the scores we had from the boys' games this week so far. Not much action, with teams starting to get back into the groove from Thanksgiving, of course. But on the boys' side, of course, we had Northwood picking up their first win of the year over Easter Alamance on Tuesday, 67-41. And then before that, though, I think on the 23rd, they had played Green Level, Chomp City Classic, came up short 69-61. But a great showing from Cam Fowler, 28 points in that one. And sophomore Josiah Brown as well, the transfer guard that just came in this year. He had 14 points against Green Level. But the Chargers are now 1-1 and looking to get into conference play. I think teams are starting conference play this week as well. And then Woods Charter, the boys, they got to win over Eno River on the second, 46-44. So they're in the win column for the first time this year. Chapel Hill got the best of Seaforth, though, on Tuesday, 65-39 on the boys' side. So that's what we had this week. Last week, we had Jordan Matthews getting the overtime win over Trinity. And I think they had lost to Trinity in the first game of the season. Got him again in the second game for revenge and beat him 64-58. In that one, Kamari Hadley, he had a team-high 14 points. Zion August had 13 points, 14 rebounds, a double-double. And he also had 4 assists and 5 blocks. So he did all the dirty work for Jordan Matthews. And he also had the freshman, Nola Mitchell, pouring in 13 points. Like we said, Jordan Matthews, I mean, they have some really good talent on that team, a little bit of a younger team. But I think they're going to be scrappy, kind of a tough out for some teams in the county this year, just because with the talent and the youth they have, and they're trying to put that together. And then we also had Chatham Central getting their second straight win, 57-40 over Falls Lake back on November 26th. And Brennan Oldham and Reed Albright so far is looking like a great match for the Bears. I think Albright had 19 points and 12 rebounds. Oldham 23 points, 11 rebounds. So we got 2 double-doubles from that one. And I don't remember if we mentioned Albright getting his first 40-point game in his career the week before. He also earned Athlete of the week before, but I know we didn't do the stream because of Thanksgiving, of course. So we didn't really talk about it. But Albright, once again, just on the scoring tear this year, and rebounds as well. He's a really great rebounder as a guard. So something to watch this year at Chatham Central. And then also talked about Seaforth last week. They fell in the home opener 59-50, and despite leading that game by 2 at halftime. So another close loss for them last week. Nate Emerson had 13 points in that one. Noah Lewis had 11. Campbell Metter had 10. So yeah, Seaforth, they're 0-3 now. But once again, new coach, still trying to get things together. Close losses, especially that Carborough loss. Gene, I don't think you were there, but in that loss, they really played Carborough as tight as they could have. Made some really impressive runs to get back in the game after falling down and made some big plays, but just some mistakes down the stretch led to that one getting out of their hands. So it's kind of a wrap. A quick catch up of where we are with boys basketball right now. And of course, Chatham Charter is off to a really good start. It's down in the 1A level, Central Tar Heel 1A conference. I don't think they've started conference play, but they're 6-1 in their 7 games so far. I think that's all they played so far. And we can get into the power rankings. Just looking at all right.
Before we start the power rankings, why don't we do this? Since we took last week off for Thanksgiving, when you're going through the power rankings, why don't we start as we usually do, start from the bottom up, but also let folks and you mentioned some of the players already, but let's do a quick rehash when you're going through the power rankings of who you see as the strong players and what you see as the strength of the teams. And folks, there's six teams here in Chatham County, high school teams, 1A, 2A, and next year it's going to be all over the place, everything from 1A up to, I think it's 5A. And if you want to, we can talk about that later as well, Ashibo. But we include everybody in the power rankings. And so Ashibo's going to run down with, I'm not going to have any opinion on any of these right now because I haven't seen all the teams play. But if we can, let's start from number 6 and go up. And why don't you let folks know who you see as the strong players and what you see the strengths of the teams for each one of them. So if you don't mind, Ashibo, start off with number 6 going up to number 1 for the boys basketball teams here in Chatham County.
Yeah, so at 6, I have Woods Charter. They're at 6 right now. Like I said earlier, even though they're at 6, I don't think they're necessarily a bad team. I think they're going to really improve after making that first playoff appearance last year. They're bringing back a lot of those players with Levi Haygood, Maxwell Carr, Noah Loppert. Those guys can really shoot the basketball. They can also defend and are really hungry this year, looking to, like I said, improve. But I got them at 6 right now. Seaforth, got them at 5. They're taking a little bit of time to get things, together with under Coach Barry. And getting into the groove of things, even though they have some really good players already too, right? With Noah Lewis, Nate Emerson, Campo Matter has been really good for them this season as well. So a really great group of guards at Seaforth that can really, do some damage later on, maybe in conference play, but and later on down the season. And then Jordan Matthews, we talked about them a little bit and the youth they have, the players they have that can really make an impact with Hadley, the freshman Nolan Mitchell, and August as well, the forward. And they have some size as well at Jordan Matthews. Have some length and some size that can really help them win some games, I think, this year. And then at 3, I have Chatham Charter. They're playing really good basketball right now, taking care of business in their non-conference play. And they added Gabe McCoy at the guard position, who's been really good for them to pair with Brendan Lavelle down low, who has been pretty much a double-double machine as well this year, rebounds and points. And then at 2, Chatham Central, I think, and go ahead and say 1 is Northwood for the boys. I think Northwood and Chatham Central are looking to be, the 2 best teams in the county and in the Big Carolina 1A, 2A conference this year. I know Southeast Alamance also looking to have a pretty good team as well. But when you look at what Chatham Central added with Brendan Oldham, while also bringing back Albright, Luke Gaines, they also have Nick Glover from the football team coming in and adding a little bit of athleticism in the backcourt. I think Chatham Central could be a really good team and even compete with Northwood a little bit closer this year, even though Northwood, still bringing back a really good team led by Cam Fowler, Chad Graves. They have a shooter in Josiah Brown who's not afraid to let it fly. He can also drive to the basket, and he's a really good playmaker at the point guard position for Northwood. So that's power rankings for the boys. Quick rundown of, kind of like we said, what they look like and what to expect from these teams. We talked about it in the previews a couple weeks ago, and those previews are still up online if you guys want to read more about the teams as the season is still in the beginning stages.
Yeah, Sheba went ahead and had an opportunity to talk to a lot of the coaches and teams before the season kicked off. I haven't, again, sounds good with me. I did see Seaford play. Yeah, I think they've still got to kind of mesh together. Being familiar with Coach Barry, I think he'll get there. And the only other team I saw play on the top 6 here is Northwood, and Cam Fowler had 23 points when he played against Eastern Alamance the other night. You mentioned the other pieces. They're all playing together as a team already, but then again, they're all familiar with each other. And you have Coach Brown, who's been there for a while. Chatham Central, I think the game between Chatham Central and the 2 games between Chatham Central and Northwood this year are going to be interesting games. Actually, I think all the games will be interesting games this year, but especially between Northwood and Chatham Central. They were good games last year.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens again this year. So Ashibo's list of power rankings: number 6, Woods Charter; number 5, Seaford; number 4, Jordan Matthews; number 3, Chatham Charter; number 2, Chatham Central; number 1, Northwood. Folks, if you don't agree with the power rankings, you know what you do. Go out there and win and prove us wrong. Actually, prove Ashibo wrong. No,
I'm making the rankings.
I concur with this list. All right, let's talk about the girls, because there's some teams that are coming back a little weaker, a little stronger, and with some new players and some old players. So Ashibo, give us a rundown on girls basketball here in Chatham County.
Yeah, just like I said, going over the scores from this week, just a couple of games leading up till today. We had Northwood get another win over Eastern Alamance on the 3rd, 43-35. Seaford got a big win over Chapel Hill at 42-27. And then Woods Charter, they went and got a win over Eno River as well, just like the boys, 33-19. So good week for the girls teams so far. And then last week, like I said, we didn't really get to talk about basketball last week because of Thanksgiving. But we had Seaford, they fell short in their season opener, 58-56. I think we might have talked about that a little bit. Chatham Charter, kind of a rough start for the Knights this year. I think they're 2-5 as of right now, taking some tough losses. They lost a week more last week, 73-22. So a little bit of different team, trying to kind of rebuild that standard they've had at Chatham Charter for some years, with a little bit of a younger team. And Jordan Matthews, they lost a close one, a nail biter, 34-32 in their season opener to Trinity. And that one, Jada Scott, she led both teams in rebounding, in scoring and rebounding with 14 points and 13 rebounds, a double-double from her. But it was just shooting percentage that hurt Jordan Matthews in that one. Not a very good shooting night. But yeah, and yeah, that's kind of all we had with girls' action so far. Just looking at the power rankings, and same thing, going through the teams and what they have this year. In our latest one this week at 6, still have Woods Charter there, and at 5 we have Chatham Charter. Like we said, they're trying to build that standard back up down in Solid City. 4, Jordan Matthews, talked about Jada Scott. They have, I think, Kelsey Morris, a senior, coming back to help them out as well. And they have a lot of good shooters around on that team as well that they're really excited about. So we'll see how Jordan Matthews can look after a couple more games this season. It's still early. Chatham Central, good mix of old and young at Chatham Central with Carolee Dodson, some of the other players as well that have been crucial for Chatham Central throughout the years, and some newcomers as well. They got a little bit of some size from the newcomers as well that we can look at as the season goes on. Northwood, the Glover twins have been pretty big for Northwood so far this year. I think the game I went to, can't remember who they went against, actually, because we had a story on that last week. So I'm getting my weeks confused because we missed Thanksgiving as well. But yeah, in that game last week, we didn't really talk about it, but they combined both had double doubles in Northwood's win over Williams. That was her season opener, 61-33. And they've been outstanding for Northwood, as well as Natalia Whitaker and Nia Henry. Great core coming back. They also added Sydney Ballard down low. And that's one of the reasons why I said they can really, really make things interesting with number one, Seaforth. I think definitely throughout this year, we could be talking about Northwood being better than Seaforth. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see the head-to-head, see how they play against other opponents down the stretch. It's still early. That's why I have Seaforth at number one. They're taking care of business with Gabby White, Katie Leonard as well, and they have some other players doing some big things for them as well. So, yeah, that's the girls basketball power rankings for this week.
All right, folks, that power ranking for the girls again: 6, Woods Charter; 5, Chatham Charter; 4, Jordan Matthews; 3, Chatham Central. Northwood is number 2, and Seaforth's number 1. And Ashibo's mom told me I need to do a better job with graphics. So next week I will try to have graphics ready for this. I will create graphics and we'll put up on X so that we can share that information with you. I definitely agree with Ashibo on Seaforth and Northwood. Having seen both those teams play, I think where Seaforth's advantage is they've got a couple of good three-point shooters, where at Northwood, that's kind of inconsistent. Aaliyah Roberts had a three-pointer in the last game against Eastern Alamance, but it took her a while to get into rhythm. But the thing with Aaliyah is once she gets into rhythm, she's pretty consistent with that three if you let her set up on the line and take the shot. The interesting thing on Northwood in the Eastern Alamance, I saw her dad, Natalia Whitaker's, she is sneaky quick. And I mean, she can come in there and work her way between taller. And if you folks watch Natalia on the team, she's not the tallest player, but she can work her way through the defense of the opposing team and just go in there and lay up a pretty looking layup. So she's fun to watch. The overall team is playing well. I think, as Ashibo said, there's going to be times where Seaforth's going to come out ahead, and there's going to be times that Northwood's going to come out ahead. And it may be the fact that Seaforth may be winning at home and Northwood may be winning at their home. And then last year, just remember, they were neck and neck there towards the end. So, yeah, girls basketball is going to be hot as well. Anything else on basketball before we get into wrestling?
Nope, I think we got it all covered.
All right, let's get into wrestling because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in wrestling. Seaforth seems to be strong again this year, and then we got also a girls wrestling team over at Chatham Central. So I'll let you take it away, Ashibo.
Yeah, we actually have girls wrestling teams all over the county this year. That was a story in last week's paper. Some of our county schools like Chatham Central, Jordan Matthews, even Seaforth, fielding their first girls wrestling teams. Last night, Seaforth hosted Jordan Matthews and Chatham Central in their last home meet of the year. And the girls team actually got their first dual wins, beating Chatham Central 22-6. And they also, Chatham Central also got a win over Jordan Matthews 24-6 as well. Got some more scores, I think, from girls wrestling. Yeah, we had Seaforth also beating Jordan Matthews 18-6 as well last week. So yeah, the girls are getting in action. And I think last week some of the teams, I think Chatham Central had their first win, but the problem was some of the duels they didn't get to wrestle exactly because they didn't have matching girls for the weight classes. So some of the forfeits just added up into wins. But this week and a little bit of last week, they've actually gotten the chance to wrestle some other girls and get scores that way instead of just from forfeit. So that's good to see. And then we also had girls wrestlers place at the Ashboro Cold Turkey Invitational on Saturday. Chatham Central's Kaylee Wharf finished second in the 120-pound weight class. Chatham Central's Peyton Pickett finished third in the 185-pound weight class. And then Jordan Matthews, Alexandra Zumano finished third place in her weight class as well. So, yeah, I mean, they're off to a good start. I talked to Chatham Central's coach Stephen Silhan about the girls wrestling team, and they had said, why weren't they doing this earlier? Because they're really having fun with it. Some of them have had experience before, just practicing with boys growing up, or actually, competing for real in wrestling. But some of them, this is their first time, and from what I'm hearing, they're learning fast. They're really enthusiastic about it, and I mean, as we can see, just from the past couple of years, especially from last year to this year, it looked like there's a lot of interest, and it could be a growing sport here in the county, and really just the whole state of North Carolina. So, yeah, we got some good things from our girls wrestlers. From the boys side, just from the meet last night with 3 of our county teams, C4 dominated 77-6 over Central Carolina Academy, 74-6 over Chatham Central, and then 71-12 over Jordan Matthews. So, they're looking like the C4 wrestling we've known for the past couple of years, just in tip-top shape with the competition in the county and in the conference, and looking really strong as they look to make another push to compete for another state title this year, winning the individual. They won the individual team title last year, but came up short in the team duel. So they're looking towards getting that team duel one, avenging that loss, and so far they're having a really good season.
Yeah, you and I may be going back out to cover some C4 state tournament competition out there. Okay. You were talking about the fact that girls wrestling is picking up. How about boys volleyball? I understand C4's working on putting together a boys volleyball team. Do you have more information as to what's going on with that, or you don't have anything at the moment?
I haven't heard anything much new at the moment. Remember last year we did talk about Jordan Matthews having their first boys volleyball team a little bit, and how that went. So, and talk to some of those boys at Jordan Matthews. They really enjoyed it. It was something to do, but also something to still be competitive with. Their coach Johnny Austin, he's really, really a good volleyball coach, and was really trying to instill some skills and some competitiveness in that team. So I haven't heard anything new as far as other schools wanting to join, or of course it becoming maybe a sanctioned sport. Haven't heard that, but there is a league for boys, and plenty of teams, high school teams in the state, are already in it and competing.
All right. Well, if we get any more news, we'll let you folks know out there. Appreciate the folks that are watching here. Shibo mentioned coaches. I'm going to get on my soapbox right here. I've been shooting sports for over 20 years, and I want to thank the coaches who do what they do, because, folks, a lot of the coaches do not get paid what they deserve to be paid for what they do. What I have found over 20 years, you hear the bad news a lot of times, but what you don't hear is the good news. Kids that participate in extracurricular sports and actually other extracurricular activities, I have seen that I've seen this reinforced by talking to parents. Those kids usually do better in school and do better in life. So coaches out there, the high school level, you get paid nowhere near what college coaches do. So I want to say thank you to the coaches here in the county. And I also want to tell the parents, some of you complain. Well, let me tell you something. Complaining is not a strategy. You can write that down. It's not mine. I stole it from somebody. But you know what? Maybe you can ask, hey, coach, how can I help? I'm sure that the coach can find something that you can help with, and you can have a positive effect, not just on your own kid, but also the kids that are participating in the sport. So there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of sports, and there's stuff that you learn in sports. And the interesting thing is, the question I sometimes ask coaches is, do you have, after about 5 years of coaching, do you have players that come back to you after they've gotten out of college, have gotten into the workforce? Hey, coach, thanks for being my coach. And a lot of good coaches do say that the kids appreciate what they learn from them, and a lot of parents do as well. So anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox here. It is Thursday, and Ashibo, what are you covering? I know you're going to. Well, why don't you tell people what are you doing, and then I'll tell people what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, tonight. I will be at Jordan Matthews for their fall sports banquet. Former UNC baseball coach Mike Fox will be there speaking as a guest speaker. So going down there, hear what he has to say to the Jordan Matthews fall sports athletes, and and hopefully we'll get to talk to him for a little bit. And then Friday, I will be at Chatham Central for their boys and girls basketball games against Southeast Alamance. They're going to get started in conference play. Should be some good games because like we said, Southeast Alamance should be having a pretty good basketball team this year. And of course, we know Chatham Central is also a pretty good basketball team, and really on both boys and girls. So should be some great basketball action on Friday night.
All right. And PJ is going to be taking pictures at the banquet. I'm going to be at the Siler City Christmas parade taking pictures of there. So just smile. And then tomorrow I will be doing the boys Seaforth basketball game and the boys Northwood basketball game. Can't do all the games tomorrow because both Seaforth and Northwood are playing. So I decided to go ahead and split that up. So folks, thank you for watching. I appreciate all this support, and we'll see you next Thursday. And remember, pick up a copy of the paper. It's nice to be able to see that in print, able to see the pictures and your athlete of the week. And we'll be back next week with a new athlete of the week. We'll see if the power rankings change. And again, as I mentioned, it's not on us, it's on you. So go out there and win, win, win. All right, folks, thanks for watching. We'll see you next Thursday. Shibo, thank you for what you do. All right, we are going to get